Hello and welcome to today's video. Today I'm reviewing a pen from Moonman or Majohn. This is labelled as Moonman, but they are the same brand. It is this, the A2. Now this is a pen model that divides people, and rightfully so. It is very clearly modelled off the Pilot Vanishing Point, one of the most popular retractable fountain pens on the market. But I'm going to do a little review of this today. I'll show it in comparison to some of the Vanishing Point features, but I think I'll also do like a little bit of a shootout video about these two pens in a little while. Okay, so let's talk about the pen. Firstly, it is retractable. So nice knock on the end there, and it is retractable. Now this is the purple version, and purple with the matte black trim, but this camera picks up the purple a lot bluer. This is quite a real purple pen. As you can see, it is faceted, and there are 18 facets that go around the pen, which technically speaking, I suppose, would make it an octadecagon, I suppose. Correct me if I'm wrong. That many faces makes it feel, round, but gives it a bit of flair, and I think it catches the light in a nice way. So starting at, well, there's no top or bottom to this pen really, so we'll start with the knock. So it's a black knock, and it has a nice action to it. And then the pen swells to this center band, which has two black rings in it, which is where the pen opens up. And it locks down very, very well. And you can see there's the mechanism. It's all sort of internal. I'll show you that in just a little bit. And then the cap, the body sort of continues and tapers until we get to this black matte end as well with the clip. And then the opening where the nib comes out of. And this is a fine steel nib labelled with Moonman, and the labelling on the pen there says Moonman. So it's a it's a plastic body, unlike say the Vanishing Point, which is a metal body. Basically speaking, it carries the same form and function of the Pilot Vanishing Point. Now, as I said, you open it up and reveal all the mechanism. Now, it comes with a converter, which goes into this mechanism, which has the nib there. And then that slides in, and like the Vanishing Point, locks into that little groove, and then you screw it back down. Now, it can be used with a cartridge as well as the converter, and it actually came with this little bag of goodies. And in here are 4 things. It comes with a tiny little eyedropper, pipette thing, a empty cartridge, which looks very similar there to the Pilot cartridge. Surprise, surprise. Here's a second cartridge with a little stopper, and then you've got the cover here, which goes over the cartridge when it's in the pen to make it nice and secure and sturdy. Same thing as, well, the Pilot comes with this as well for its pen, but I do really enjoy the idea of this, and these can be bought in multiple packs on their own as well. I think it's a neat little accessory. And that's the basics of the pen. This is a really affordable pen. I bought this for, I think it was around the 30 to 32 Australian dollar mark, which is roughly 20 US dollars. So it makes it a very, affordable, retractable fountain pen, as opposed to say the $220 to $290 for the Vanishing Point. But this is a steel nib and all of that. So let's do this size comparison then. And what I have here is, as always, the Lamy Safari. And then I'm going to put it alongside the Pilot Vanishing Point. So you can see alongside the Vanishing Point, it is ever so slightly shorter, and it's about the same size there as the Lamy Safari in this form. Now, the great thing about a retractable fountain pen is that it doesn't uncap or post necessarily. You just click the nib out. And you can see once those nibs are out, it holds up once again alongside the Vanishing Point, and becomes longer than the Safari. But of course, the Safari can post with that cap on the end, making it even longer. The retractable Moonman here obviously has a small nib on it. It's much smaller than like a traditional fountain pen nib, but it writes with a pretty sturdy fine line, which I will show you in just a little bit. But yes, it's a good size pen, as a lot of these retractable pens are. So what are the dimensions here of the Moonman or Majohn A2, well, it is 141 millimeters when it is retracted. When the nib is out, it's 141 millimeters. So it keeps its exact same length there, making it a fairly sort of nice size in the hand. Obviously, it doesn't post or anything like that. The width of the pen is not too bad. Around here, this part of the grip section, excluding the clip, is around the 10 millimeter mark, and the widest pen of the pen is around the 12 millimeter mark. So it's not a super thick pen, but it's quite comfortable in the hand. And the pen weighs 19 grams, being plastic, as opposed to the 31 grams of the metal vanishing point. 19 grams makes it a nice lightweight pen, and the balance is very nice. We'll do a writing sample now with the Moonman. I'll say /Majohn A2. This is a steel fine nib, and it is quite fine. The ink in this today is Diamine Majestic Purple, an ink I quite enjoy. Let's do this writing sample. Okay, so one thing I'll say straight up off the bat is it writes quite smoothly. There's a touch of like that draggy feedback, but it is in no way scratchy at all. It's not super wet, and that's okay. But one thing I do notice is that particularly on the side strokes, occasionally you get a slightly kind of like desaturated or dry, semi kind of dried out line. If we do some fast writing, you see it keeps up, but occasionally, once again, you just get like a slightly less generous flow. Reverse writing, actually that's pretty good. Yep, a bit sharp, will dry out, but that's okay. And it is definitely not a flex nib in any stretch. You really can't get anything out of this. It's a stiff nib, but it writes quite well. It's got a good fine line, and it makes it a fairly decent everyday writer. But we're not addressing the elephant in the room here. So let's talk about the pros and cons of this pen. And the con is that elephant in the room. This design is not wholly original. Now, as I said, I'm going to be making a little comparison video about these, and that'll come up in the future. It's clearly designed off the Pilot. There are enough little differences. The fact that it's a plastic body as opposed to a metal body. You've got a slightly different end to the section without that sort of extra little compartment there. The center bands are much thinner and less bulbous. The clip has a slightly different profile and length. And the pen has, generally speaking, a slightly shorter length here than the Pilot as well. And a lot of these elements are just slightly smaller. But that is the elephant in the room. Okay, so what are the pros? Well, I think the price is a massive pro at around, as I said, the 30 Australian to roughly 20 American dollar mark. This pen is quite affordable and writes well and is retractable and all those things people like. It comes in a huge range of colors, different kind of finishes and stuff, which makes it a nice, personalizable option. It's got a pretty sturdy mechanism. I've had no problem with this. There's been no problem with it, getting stuck or anything like that. Like if you look at the, the Curidas, for instance, this is the original one. I think they've improved some of this, but it just gets stuck. Like it's such a faulty mechanism. And I've not had those issues here with the Moonman. I really like these little accessories that sort of came with it. There was no fancy packaging or anything, but getting the little the little pipette and the cartridge cover and that little cartridge with the stopper in it, it's nice. And as I said, you can buy those separately as well. I think it's a nice, lightweight, well-balanced pen, and it writes well and has a really nice, fine nib, so there's quite a lot to like. You know what? I would love to see Pilot come out with a plastic VP or capless. Using nice ABS plastic or something like that, like the Lamy Safari. that kind of plastic would be great. Even, can you imagine a matte plastic Pilot Vanishing Point? That thing would fly off the shelves. So, you know, for those who are wanting that option, and if you can get around the idea of these pens being copies or knockoffs or whatever, this might be a nice option for you. But in the end, in its own right, it writes well, and I like it. So thank you for watching. I hope you found this video interesting and useful. Please like and subscribe and hit the notifications button and all that kind of stuff. If you've got products you think I should be looking at, or if you'd like to support the channel, I would absolutely love to hear from you. In the meantime, enjoy your pens, enjoy writing, and I'll talk to you soon.